Hi everybody, it's Patty Dunn here with Monday Fun Day, and we are going to embellish a jacket today with ink and stencils and aloe vera gel, and it's going to be fun. So join me today and we're going to do this, and then maybe next week we'll do some lace that's going to go on it, and the next couple of Mondays I'm going to show you how I work this jacket, this plain beige jacket, into something spectacular, not just a plain beige jacket. So let's get started on the table, and I'm gonna straighten up the camera just a little bit, and I'm gonna show you. I have done the jacket open. I've left it open, and the reason I have is so that I have more space that's flat that I can do my work on. And I'm going to show you that I have done some embellishment already on this, so you can see that I have done some stenciling already on this. And so I wanted to get you to join me so you would know how I did this in case you decide that you want to do a jacket like this. This is 100% cotton. It's actually got a tone-on-tone look, so you can kind of see the swirls, I think, if I zoom in a little bit more, maybe. You can see, how it's a little bit, it's almost like runny, look, and there's no real design to it, but I thought this would be interesting because when you stencil on something like this, you end up getting a different look to the stencil, because the stencil doesn't pick up everything the same, because there's two colors, two tones. So I thought this would be a cool way to use some of the paints. And so I'm going to back you up just a little bit now so you can see how I'm going to do this. So I make a mess, obviously, but I like to have a little palette to work with, and I always have paper towels, which these are the industrial strength paper towels that you use for painting. And I also always have baby wipes around, because water is one thing, but baby wipes are already wet and you can get it off your hands if you get it on your hands. And so I like to have that. And I also like to have these little finger daubers here. These are real interesting. Suki Neko, these actually, what I'm going to show you is I'm working with Suki Neko inks. Now these little tiny bottles of ink, you wouldn't believe how much they will color. It looks like a little tiny bit, but it goes a long way. And these are metallics. These two are metallics. One is a copper and the other one is a gold. They're very strong as far as brightness goes. And so I wanted to have just a little bit of variety with some of this. So I have taken up the brown, the chocolate brown, and I've kind of mixed it around. And so I really have three different colors here. I have the gold that's just gold, and then I have the copper and gold, and then I have the brown with the gold and the copper, all three mixed. I'm trying to tone down a little bit of the brightness of it. Just don't know why. I just wanted to do it. The other thing that I did before I started putting the color in my little well here, I used aloe vera gel. Now this is not juice, this is gel, and it's going to thicken this so that it's a little easier to use the stencil on. So that being said, I'm kind of mixed these around, and I just kept mixing and mixing and mixing, and you notice how messy I have gotten, but that doesn't matter. But one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is just get a little bit out there on the whatever it is, the flat part of this, just because you don't want a lot on these daubers. So now I have decided, I've got one side that has the design coming kind of off the side here. So I've decided I'm going to leave a lot of this space right now for laces. So I'm going to leave that space for laces, and I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to come a little lower down beside the side. This is the side seam of the jacket. Now on the one I did in the front, I actually worked the stencil halfway off, and I put a piece of this underneath it so that it wouldn't get on the table. But I'm not going to do another one off the edge because I did two on the other side in the front. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe a little bit further down, maybe this size right here. And one of the other products I like to use is this Sulky spray adhesive. Now there's a lot of spray adhesives on the market. I am partial to Sulky. I don't know why. It just seems like when I spray it, it goes right where I'm going to spray. It's very lightweight. It doesn't get real sticky with everything else. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to do this one right here. This one right there is a little bit larger, but it's not the largest. And you know, I'm looking at this thinking maybe I'll do this at the very bottom because that would look kind of cool too. So I'm going to move this up just a little bit so that I have a platform, and I think this is going to stick okay. I'm going to make sure that things stick just because if they move around on you, it's just not a good idea to allow it to move very far. So now let's take a look at how this is going to work. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use this one, and I'm just going to stick this paper towel underneath here so you can see that I'm actually going off the edge here. So I'm going to move this even farther up here for you. Now, when I start to load my dauber, and I try to keep the same daubers with the color, and I think I'm going to do the medium gold on this one, the one that's not quite dark and not quite bright. And I'm coming over here, and I notice that I'm picking it up over here, not in the well where there's so much ink and color, because it just saturates this. Now sometimes I'll come in here and just take a test just to see on my my paper towel if that's going to work. And I think I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do the brighter one at the bottom. So I'm just going to move this around. Now sometimes I pounce, but this is a product that is not, it's a lot wetter than like a stamp. So I usually just stroke, and it's a little bit more careful about not bleeding underneath the stencil when I do that. And notice that I don't have a whole lot, because when I do this, I can always come back with a little bit darker and I can enhance it in different places. So this is what I am going to do actually. So I'm going to rub this on. Now, if you have something close by and you are messy, take some painter's tape and tape over that so that you don't accidentally get into the next whatever it is on the stencil. Or let's say this edge is really close here, or maybe you only wanted to do a piece of this. You can tape over this and just keep the painter's tape on there so that the color doesn't go in there. So, all right, so now I have this little swirl done, and I'm going to make sure that it's in all the corners. And notice how cool this looks. I'm going to close you in just a little bit so you can see this a little bit more up close. Do you see how some of the color it almost looks like a wood grain? It's just kind of cool the way it does. Now, I'm just going to experiment because, sorry, I didn't mean to go back and forth with you. I'm going to take the darker color now that's on this palette. And I think I'm going to just go in the center part of this. And this will make this just a little darker right in the center. I don't know that much about painting and everything, but I know that a little bit of change in what you're doing will actually make it enhance it, make it look more real. Now I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the gold. And watch now, I've loaded my brush, but I'm coming over here, I mean my dauber, but I'm coming over here and I'm going to get most of that off because this is a pretty bright one. And this has only got aloe vera gel and the gold in it. And so now notice that I am just going to come right off the edge. I just don't want it wet. Doesn't want to be soaky wet. And then I'm going to come around here. And you do have to watch these daubers. If you let them set after you use them, and you don't wash out the ink, they'll start. It'll start deteriorating the foam, and then your foam will just fall apart. So be sure and wash the dauber, but you can still stay with the colors that you kind of got it stained with. It's just a good idea. Now here's when I want my wipes, because I have definitely got some on my hands, and if I get it on my hands, I'll get it on my clothes, and or I'll get it on my somewhere else on the project. So I don't want to do that. So I want to keep my hands clean. So here is, you know, that doesn't look as gold as I thought it was. I don't know why. I may have mixed too many times with my brush, because this is not as bright as the original time that I started with this gold. So I may have wiped my brush in the brown, but that's all right, because this is just a little bit different than that one. And that's the one thing that you want to do, is you want to make sure that you do a little bit of definition of change on something like this. Because if it's all the same, it's kind of boring. So, so these inks are really good about drying fairly fast, but I don't want to pull this off until I know that it's kind of set just a little bit. So So let's just talk a little bit about the lace then. If we're going to do this, because I'm going to move this just a little bit over this way, and I'm going to pull the lace in, because while I'm waiting for that to dry, I can do some lace coloring with the same colors here. And so here's my lace. Now I've set it on this, and I also, it's very important with lace that you go ahead and mist it with some water, because it'll absorb. Otherwise it just kind of stands on the top of the surface a lot. So now I'm going to use a paintbrush for this. And so what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to use this one. I've got a lot of this one here, although I've really got a lot more of the other one. And I'm just basically going to paint this color on to this lace. And let's give some different colors to some of the other places. Now, of course, you know, you've got green leaves and red flowers or pink flowers, but on this, I want everything to be monotone. So I want monochromatic. So I want to give the effect of, you know, not that many things, everything blending sort of. Now I'm going to go back to this lighter color. And do you see how this is working? Now I'm going to go ahead and bring some water into this. You always have a glass of water around. Doesn't hurt at all to do that. And then we're going to just add this, because it helps it absorb in. And also it sometimes is a good idea to use a freezer paper underneath, because this obviously is soaking right through the paper towel, and that's what I normally do. Or you can also use a really nice mat for painting. Okay, I'm going to do this one here in this golder one. Now remember that my paint also has aloe vera gel in it, so it brings it a farther away, plus it helps it to apply. It's a carrier for the paint or ink. Okay, so now I'm going to just go over here with this, put a little more water, and I think I'm going to let this side be very light, because you know what I can do? I can actually cut away some of this lace, and I may do that when I show you how I'm going to build the rest of this jacket, where I'm putting this back, putting this lace on here. I will show you how you can actually manipulate some of the designs of lace so that they will give you know, a different look to things. So see, I could actually cut that away and just use this piece and use this piece somewhere else, but for right now I'm doing this whole piece. And I think that's all I want, because I want it to have 2 or 3 different colors. So do you see how that looks? And so I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to get another piece of paper towel, and I'm going to lay that on the towel so that it dries on its own. Throw that one away. And I'm going to just show you this one because this one I already did. And do you see how pretty that is? It's still a little bit wet, but it's a little lighter than it was. And so that's how I did the lace. And now I'm going to bring you back over here because we are going to pull this off now. And because the sticky is fine, it just pulls right off. Now, there you go. So now I definitely want to wipe off my stencil because that is another important thing about keeping things clean, because when I start again, I'm going to have stuff on my stencil and I don't want it to bleed if I decide to do something else. So I just lay it on a paper towel and I just use my baby wipes to wipe it off. And you can take it to, you know, your water and wash it down. But I find that these work very well. And now when you pull this off, you can see how much color has actually gone back on there. So so let's just do one more. And this one I'm going to do on the sleeve. And I just want you to see something that I'm going to pick out because I want to show you on, I don't want to get this in anything because it's drying still. And by the way, you do want to heat press this. When you finish, all of this ink has to be heat pressed. Now some people don't heat press it if it's on cotton. I always heat press it no matter what. And so I'm going to lay that over because I want you to see something else here. Let me see if I can back you away here a little bit. Okay, that's as much as I can back you away. All right, so here's the back of the jacket and here's the front of the jacket. And you can see that I've stenciled coming off the edge. And so now I've put my sleeve on by leaving everything open. So I have the sleeve open. And this, by the way, is my twice as nice jacket. And you just, instead of closing the seam up, just put the seam, closing the side seam up, just put that the sleeve on open, and then you'll do it after you'll put the side seams up, just like you did regularly if you weren't going to embellish. I hope you enjoyed Monday Fun Day today. I had a lot of fun, and I love embellishing things, and this ink is so much fun to use. So join me next week at 10 o'clock on Monday, and we're going to talk about how I can lay this out and the next things that I do for the sleeve so that it'll look flattering and your eye will carry all the way through the jacket instead of just one focal place. So please join me and have a great week. Happy Monday Fun Day!